And we are back here covering our featured league, the Ghost Racing Cup Series here on iRacing. That whole crew is going to take on Charlotte this week. Let's talk about that as we here at the Spin Move iRacing Network cover our featured league race this week. And welcome to the Spin Move iRacing Network featured league race preview show. And my name is Zach, and I'm here with my buddy David. Say hello to the internet.
Welcome back, everyone. Good to be back with you, Zach. And as you mentioned, a featured league race preview show again. And we are heading over to Charlotte.
Yeah,
Man, excitement, fun, special themed race. We'll get into that here in just a little bit. And excited to see what's going to happen here, Zach. How about you?
yeah, I'm really excited. This league is coming off of a really positive experience in terms of the racing prowess of the I guess, of the event itself. So they were able to clean up some mistakes, and here they are. They're back racing probably at a little bit more manageable of a racetrack. So really excited to see what these guys are going to put on YouTube, on ESPN, and the guys at SRM are going to be broadcasting that. So make sure you check them out on YouTube on Wednesday evening for the Ghost Racing Cup Series. They're going to travel 300 miles, the longest race of their season here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. And David, let's get right into it. You're the track spec guy here on the show. So take us around the track. Tell us a little bit about this really iconic racetrack.
So we're looking at a mile and a half D-shaped oval. A lot of NASCAR tracks, of course, having that layout now. The front stretch being 1,980 feet, backstretch 1,500. You're looking at 24-degree banking in turns 1 and 2, with turns 3 and 4 also being 24 degrees, but slightly less length in turns 3 and 4, so
Mm.
it makes it a little bit tighter. Turn 1 and 2 being a total of 685 feet in length, with turns 3 and 4 being only 625. Then those front straightaways, or the front stretch and the back stretch, then being 5 degrees of banking, should make for an interesting race.
Yeah, so let's talk about that quickly from a driver's perspective in terms of what to expect at this racetrack. As you mentioned, the D shaped oval layout is very traditional to many NASCAR racetracks, and Charlotte has as plain as they come at some points. But what's really unique about this particular race is that this is the longest race of the Ghost Racing Cup Series inaugural season. They're going to be traveling 300 miles, which is 200 laps around this mile and a half oval. And David, from a driver's perspective, what are some challenges that a sim racer has to take when getting into the rig and getting mentally prepared for a longer race than usual?
Charlotte may look like your average mile and a half track that's just super easy to sit down and race, but with those 24-degree high banks, and then of course the character of the track itself at Charlotte, there are some bumps in places. Drivers can't just sit back and relax and take this as a usual race. These 300 miles are really going to get to drivers, especially as tire wear starts to become an issue. I know I had issues with practice earlier this week coming up out of turn 2. There's a little bit of a bump that just gets your car super loose coming out of that turn if you're not careful. So things drivers have to watch out for, especially as this race drags on in length. As we get towards those closing laps, this is a little bit more than drivers are used to in this league.
Yeah, and I think from a driver's perspective, you kind of have to be prepared going into this race, right? Make sure your water bottle's close by. Make sure you empty your tank before you sit into that sim rig before the green flag drops, because there's no brakes. And really, for a driver, you got to understand that when you hop into that rig for 300 miles, it's a pretty long commitment depending on the style of racing that these drivers are going to maintain on Wednesday evening. I think it's also important to mention that this league has went back on a tire rule where now these drivers have one less set of tires than what they are normally used to. So how do you manage longer green flag runs, even if they're not green flag runs? How do you extend the tire life of your race car, and especially at Charlotte, where driving that low line is really critical for maintaining tire wear, but doesn't take very long for your car not to like that, right?
Absolutely. And Charlotte just being one of those tracks, even if you're running the high line, I feel like with those 24-degree banks, there's not a whole lot of place to run to find a safe spot from that tire wear other than just simply off the throttle time,
Mm.
which is going to slow these drivers down. And of course, then really leads to some interesting strategy of drivers in the beginning maybe taking it a little bit slower than their normal race pace, trying to pick it up for that long run? Or are you going to have drivers really pushing these cars early on and then maybe somebody on older tires catching up because they saved their tire at the beginning of the run?
So let's talk a little bit more about strategy as we start to unpack the Ghost 300 at Charlotte. These guys are really interested in trying to build momentum as the season goes along. The regular season is just over the halfway mark now, and these drivers are now jockeying for position for the playoffs. And we have not covered here on our post-race coverage yet just how close the battle for 16th is, but trust us when we say it is really close. There are multiple drivers within single digits of each other fighting for that 16th playoff spot in this league, and these guys are understand that this is not a win and you're in point system, so they have to be consistent. And one of the ways that a driver can really do that in this league is maximizing your stage point strategy. So David, when we talk about tire management and then also understanding that at lap 50 and lap 100 of this thing you're going to have stage breaks, how are drivers going to manage where you are on the racetrack versus am I going to try for maybe a top 10 at the end versus getting what I can right now?
Drivers are going to have to pick and choose when and where they make those pit stops and how important those stage points really are. And for drivers that are sitting around the edge of that cut line, I expect them to really prioritize. I need to be as far up in those stages as I can get to earn those stage points. And if I'm out of stage point contention, maybe I'll go in and grab a fresh set of tires so that next stage or the finish of the race, I can have a better position later on and just kind of take my medicine early so that I can set myself up for a better race later.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting if this does develop into longer green flag runs, right? The fuel cycle is going to put these guys in positions where theoretically you can stretch and you can play the long game, but ultimately tires are king here at Charlotte. And drivers are going to have to understand, okay, where am I in the pack right now? Can I afford to go down pit road? Can I make up some time that I'm lost and maybe finish 8th, 9th, 10th in this stage and snag a couple that way? Will we see drivers staying out? We've seen this a few times already this season under yellow flag conditions where a caution comes out and a driver that is having a rough day goes, I'm just going to snag a point and I'm going to take my lump and I'm going to go down pit road the next time by, and I'm just going to get my point and move on. Will we see some more of that here in Charlotte? I love the length of this track because ultimately a longer race means more variables for guys to get creative about their fuel cycles, and we really haven't mentioned that term undercut in quite a long time. I think it was like week 2 or week 3 of this season where we had mentioned undercutting being a very vital part of the race itself. Charlotte, again, is one of those racetracks where drivers are going to have to understand that I can really gain a lot of time on the field if I undercut, if I short pit, if I make sure that I really aggressive getting on pit road, really aggressive getting off of pit road. I hit my marks, I hit my box, and drivers make up a ton of time, especially on fresh tires. We found out in the sim Earlier this past week, about a 40 lap run's going to make you fall off at least 2 seconds worth of race pace time. So, tires are definitely going to be important at Charlotte. David, being in the Army, I know that this race for you is particularly special. It's special in real life, but this league has also adopted its tradition here in iRacing. I want to talk about what makes this particular race so special.
So the race at Charlotte, traditionally in real life, of course, racing on the oval, the Coke 600, as that race would be, is Memorial Day weekend
Mm-hmm.
and patriotic schemes. But what really makes this race special to me in this league is in continuing with the tradition that many NASCAR drivers do, is we carry a name of a service member on our car. Traditionally, what I have done for these leagues is I have picked a Medal of Honor recipient to ride along with me this year is the same. Looking forward to sharing that come race time. I know that SRM is looking forward to get the names out there, so I don't want to steal their thunder and spoil anything, but just know that every time you see that number one Toyota Camry coming around the track, there is a Medal of Honor recipient on the front of that sacrificed themselves for our country, and I can't be any more grateful for the opportunity to recognize them and honor their sacrifice.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've been taking a look here at the Discord for Ghost Cup series, and these guys are starting to unveil some really solid patriotic paint schemes. Goodness gracious, try saying that more than one time fast. But regardless, these guys are rolling out a lot of red, white, and blue paint schemes. But we're also seeing quite a number of yellow and blue paint schemes this week, go in honor of what is going on in Ukraine. And we here at SRM, we extend our prayers out to those who are in that situation. But if you want to see a group of racers who are coming together and not just having pride for our country, but having pride for ultimately peace on earth. These guys are coming together. Like you said, they have names of soldiers on their car. They have many red, white, and blue schemes. With I've seen an eagle or two, and just a lot of fun schemes to really look at as a spectator. But as SRM, I'm sure, is going to take some time during the race, you're going to find out very quickly that most, if not all, of the schemes have a deeper meaning behind them. And I think that's what makes this patriotic race so special.
Absolutely. And as you said, that deeper meaning, drivers can go out there, as you know, and make a car painted however they want using the multitude of tools that are available to them. But that deeper meaning, especially for this race, just means so much given the patriotic schemes and the meaning that it has personally, not only to that driver, but maybe to a family member or somebody that they know.
Hmm. Absolutely. It'll be a great race to watch on ESBN's YouTube channel. And if you cannot find them, find SRM on Facebook, and they'll direct you appropriately for the YouTube link for that broadcast. You won't want to miss this very exciting and unique race in the Ghost Racing Cup Series inaugural season. David, here we are. We're at the prediction portion of our time together. We didn't get the opportunity to do this last week because I was sick and I had COVID, and there was no way we were going to do a pre-race show. But I am happy to be here with you this week and to make some predictions with you. So I'll hand it over to you. Kind of walk us through our predictions, and I'll follow your lead this week.
All right. So I would like to do it kind of similar to how we do in another one of our shows. We pick our primary pick first, and then we'll come back around to our dark horse pick.
Okay.
So for my primary pick this week, I'm excited to see him get up front and start doing something. I'm looking at the number 4 machine of Dan Miglin. I think it's his time. He said that he has been quick at some of these other tracks. I've seen him up front. He gets there and usually just ends up in somebody else's mess and can't quite make it to the finish line how he wants to see it. But I am excited. This week is the week that he gets it done. He finds a way through that mess. He's been learning. He's going to get it done this week.
Well, that's a good pick. I know we here on the show we've been toting Dan Miglin for a little while in terms of kind of waiting for him to break out, and I'm excited to perhaps see him come forward and really assert himself. I'm going to be picking the number 2 machine of Alfred Denny. He is 4th in points right now, and he's strung together a few really good weeks just of solid racing, making sure he's minding his P's and Q's and making his way up towards the front when it matters the most. And I think Alfred Denny in that number 2 machine is going to be a guy that you're going to need to look out for here this week. My dark horse pick might come as a bit of a surprise because we've only named him one time on this show because he's only been available one time on this show. And in a recent development, we came across a very unique situation here in this series as drivers are kind of reaching the midpoint of the season and life is getting pretty crazy and drivers are going to have to take a step back and oftentimes we call on friends in the iRacing community trying to come together and say, hey, can you put on my paint and hop in my ride, so to speak, and chug some laps for me. And there's been a development happening in the Discord this week that I think is worth mentioning. Noah Owens, who we talked about last week at the end of our pre-race coverage. He is the owner of a particular team here in the Ghost Racing Cup Series. And last week, he did what would be, in modern day terms, Rick Hendrick coming out of the hauler and stepping into the car. But the thing about Noah is that he finished top 10, and we were able to talk about him on the show last week. This week is a little bit different as Owens is going to hop into that 54 machine piloted by Christopher Tate, and Owens is going to be piloting that race car now around the racetrack. So we are not going to see him in the 22 machine, but rather the 54 machine. And I think what a crazy story that would be if Noah Owens, a true dark horse pick, not even a guy that races in this league, a fill-in driver, comes out here and wins at Charlotte. So I'm picking Noah Owens pitching in relief in that 54 machine.
Man, that would be something. Not only for Noah Owens to come in and be a fill-in driver to win for the 54 machine, but to see the 54 machine go back to back in victory lane. That would just be extremely exciting. My pick for this week, it's going to be the man in charge, the number 5 Chevy Camaro of Chris Hubka. He had a great finish last week. I think that hot streak continues. He gets up front and he puts a fight up with Dan Miglin and those 2 Chevy Camaros just battling out to the finish line. That's what I want to see anyway. Excited to watch it all and race it all here with you, Zach.
Well, I don't know about you, but me personally, I would rather see us up front battling it out at the end of this thing. But I guess you can have your own opinions. But
I had to be realistic.
regardless, I understand where you're coming from. But we are really excited to be back on our normal programming schedule here. We had a few hiccups over the last probably 10 days or so. Mainly that's because of me and being sick. But as you can tell, I'm all better now. And we are really excited to get back on our normal scheduled programming here on Spin Move iRacing Network. And we hope that you watch this broadcast of the Ghost 300 at Charlotte. David, any closing thoughts here as we prepare ourselves for this featured race?
You said the absolute perfect word. Prepare ourselves. I hope that other drivers are preparing themselves, and I hope to see a great race. And as you mentioned earlier in the broadcast, maybe we'll get some of those really long green flag runs, and who knows, maybe we'll run this race a bit faster than all of us expect.
Really excited to see. But until we meet again, my name is Zach, and for my partner David, we're honored to share this coverage with you here on YouTube. If you like the content that you see, please like, comment, and subscribe. We love talking to you guys here on YouTube. And don't be afraid to check out our website, which is also right underneath David here on the show. And until we meet again, guys and gals, remember to keep on racing.